This first news story comes to us from Jacob Roach over at Digital Trends. They write, if the leaked Asus ROG Ally price is real, the Steam Deck is in trouble. Since Asus announced its ROG Ally handheld, one question has dominated the conversation. How much will it cost? If a new leak is to be believed, the flagship model will come in at $700. Best Buy, which seems to be exclusively handling distribution in the US, had a listing briefly go live for the ROG Ally, and it shows a model with AMD's Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor, 16GB of DDR5 for memory, 512 gigabytes of storage, coming in at $700. The Steam Deck starts at $400, but if you want a reasonable amount of storage, you'll spend $650 for the 512 gig model. By the way, do not do that. Here's a little trip from Uncle Garrett and Uncle Adrian here. Buy the cheap one at $400 and upgrade the hard drive yourself, and it'll only cost you $550, and you'll have 1 terabyte in space instead of 512 gig of space. So there you go. The more you know.
For the same price.
Well, cheaper.
Or actually a little less. Yeah.
$100 cheaper because the hard drive, the SSD, the M.2 for the 1 terabyte, it's $150. So 400 plus 150 is only 550, and the big dog is 650. So it's $100 cheaper for double the space. You can't go wrong.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Anyways, Asus claims ROG Ally doubles the performance of the Steam Deck, which is quite the kind of advertising there. We'll see if
we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. So a $50 upcharge doesn't seem unreasonable. We haven't had the chance to get raw performance numbers, but our initial hands-on time with ROG Ally shows performance far ahead of the Steam Deck. It isn't just one leaker claiming this price either. Snoopy Tech, a Twitter leaker who commonly leaks about mobile devices, confirmed the flagship model will run $700. In addition, leaker Roland Quant confirmed the price to The Verge. So it kind of goes on and on. They do kind of mention the power of this ROG Ally here. We don't know the price of the base model yet, but it has confirmed that in addition to the Z1 Extreme model, they will also have the Ryzen Z1 a normal base model. So Extreme will be the top one, and there's this normal Ryzen Z1. The less powerful version of the Z1 Extreme, but it still comes with the same Zen 4 CPU architecture and RDNA 3 GPU architecture, whatever that means. So they have a little comparison. Compared to the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally's APU is much more powerful hardware. On paper, the Z1 Extreme offers 8.6 teraflops of GPU power. Talking about flops again, just like Xbox did back in the day. While the Steam Deck's APU tops out at 1.6 teraflops. So 8.6 versus 1.6. Theoretically, it's theoretical performance, but still. It's not, it doesn't necessarily mean the ROG Ally is 6 times as fast, but it is a good illustration of how much more powerful the Ally APU really is. So the device is set to launch May 11th, so just another week and a half. There's been no confirmed pricing or models yet, but it's looking quite promising. So Adrian, what are your thoughts on the ROG Ally, and how do you feel now that we just bought a Steam Deck about 2 months ago?
So going down the list, 1, I love my Steam Deck. I don't regret buying my Steam Deck at all. I still use it pretty much, if not daily, every other day. I've actually been chipping away. Yeah, I've been chipping away at Persona 5, and let me tell you, being able to have Persona 5 running at a nice 60 frames a second and not looking like Vaseline has been smeared over it like the Switch version is very nice. So I don't regret my purchase at all as far as that goes. However, and this is not to disparage the Asus handheld. It looks like it's a really good piece of kit. And I was reading the description of what the performance is looking like. And if it is to be believed, which is, it's basically, from what I hear, it's pretty much double a Steam Deck. I want to know, number one, how are they getting it to be on for more than 30 minutes? And then number two, I don't necessarily see how they can sell the top end of this for $700. If the specs are that much more powerful than a Steam Deck, and
Now you have to remember Steam Deck tech, it came out over a year ago now.
Right.
So it is old tech, and they haven't necessarily updated their pricing. I think if they were to old tech, you know what I mean? Like, but if they were to update their pricing for what that technology would be today, it probably would be $100 cheaper. So, but they haven't because there's no need to. There's no competition, and in all that. But I could see it. I could see it coming in at. I mean, you said it yourself. Like after a year, like things are speeding up. Year after year, things change. You got to think. The Steam Deck came out a year ago, but their actual like prototype their final prototype would have been done. Hopefully well before last year. Like usually that's how it works. They get the and then because then they have to source all the parts. So technically, the Steam Deck's technology could be more of a 2021 tech compared to this is going to be late 2020, 2022 tech. So a whole year on them, possibly.
Right. I don't know. I guess, but $700 for that kind of performance is it's wild to me because the Z1s just came out, right? Like this is a brand new APU, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not.
It's at least come out within the last year, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure it's fairly recent, or else they wouldn't be using it.
So just to be able to source that part, and they have a 1080p panel in it
within just 6 days ago. Apparently, there's an article right here. 6 days from 6 days, AMD releases Ryzen Z1 series, Zen 4, and RDNA 3. So it's literally like a week old. These chips.
Asus must have partnered with
get to them earlier,
right? They were just working on the projected specs of the chip without actually having it. That's pretty risky, pretty ballsy, but sometimes they must have had
some prototypes because Linus Tech Tips, I watched their video. They have a good 20-30 minute long video where they have hands-on and you actually get to see gameplay on it. Like one of the big things they're boasting is like a higher refresh rate. So like I think the screen on the Steam Deck is only up to 60 hertz.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say the ROG Ally does like up to like 120 hertz or something like that. So it's just 60 FPS. They could both be running a game at 60 FPS, but it'll look smoother on the ROG because of the high refresh rate screen on it and stuff like that. So it's like, it's a beef. Go check out the video from Linus Tech Tips because he goes in a lot of the details. He has a guy. It's funny. He's like keeps referencing the guy off screen who's like, you can't say that, or like you can say this or something. But he got hands on to like a 3D printed prototype thing basically, but it's like has all the guts that the original is pretty much going to have. They said, so it was impressive to watch the gameplay and hear his thoughts. Like he was actually very impressed with it, which I was surprised. He's usually pretty harsh. If he can be, he usually is like, no, I don't like this. Right?
Yeah, no, I'm very familiar with Linus. He does not pull punches. I just feel like they have to be taking a loss on this. Especially if this is a brand new part, unless they did some deal with AMD to where AMD is going to eat the cost on these units. It's either going to be AMD or maybe Microsoft is pushing putting some money in so they can kind of be like, oh, this is another alley of Game Pass that you can play your games on. Somebody has to be taking a loss on this. There's no way this hardware sells for that price.
I mean, Asus is making so many they make everything from not only like PCs, like laptops and desktops, but they also make all the parts for your computer. Like my old GPU, actually, the GPU that you have in the desktop I sent you, that's an Asus, if I remember right. Like, so like they make graphics, they make everything. So it's like they very well could be taking a loss on this thing, but it's because they make their money up everywhere else in the PC market. They literally have their hands in every part of the PC market, from end product to what you put in your computer, Right.
I guess.
So,
you know what though? Just speaking candidly, if I'm Valve and what you and I are talking about, where the Steam Deck hardware is actually pretty old by this point, I would probably be thinking about doing a price cut.
Yeah. I mean, they did a little bit of a discount for their 1 year birthday. Remember,
Right.
it was like 2 weeks after we bought ours. We're like, oh, great. We could have saved like $100 or whatever.
Well, because right now they're $349, what is it? $399, $499, and $649, something like that.
$650. Yeah, $649. Yep.
See, I'm doing $299. Yeah. I'm doing $399, and I'm doing $550.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. They could like. I think that would be a very wise decision. Or I mean, even go a hair cheaper, at least with the most expensive model, because really the only difference between, that's the thing, like with the 3 models of Steam Deck, it's all the same console. The only difference is storage space. With the ROG Ally, there's actually different processors. Like one is more powerful than the others, so it's like it would almost make sense for them to like
$299, $399, $499.
Just slash it completely, and get going on making the Steam Deck too, because there's this is the start of an arms race now. Like it's all out war.
I'm
at this
sure they
point.
have irons in the fire, of course.
Yeah.
For Steam Deck 2, but it like we're saying, it just barely became a year old, so we probably won't see another piece of Steam hardware. I'd say at least for another 2 years.
Right.
Or Steam Deck hardware. We may see like a dedicated box, but they tried that and failed before, so they might be a little gun shy on that one.
One thing I did hear about this, I didn't say anything about it in this article, but I thought I heard somewhere that it's running Windows on this instead of like, because that's one thing, like, honestly, I'm like, man, like I love my Steam Deck, but if it ran Windows, it'd be so much easier, because then I could just install all my GOG games. I could install Game Pass on there. I could install, because right now there's so many things that the only way to get it to work on your Steam Deck is by weird backdoor like hacking and stuff like that. And it's like, I just want to like imagine having this and just being able to like install it natively. That sounds
I mean, you
amazing.
Technically can't. Valve has put out drivers to have Steam Deck work on Windows, so you can install Windows on a Steam Deck.
Right, but from everything I've heard, putting Windows on a Steam Deck just like really it cuts out I don't know. I've never heard anything good about it. A lot of people are just like, it works, but it's not great. Like the original API and software is like better, other than the lack of compatibility.
Making a specialized like software or overlay for Windows on it, because that'd be the same thing if it's just straight up Windows put on there with no specific drivers for button input or anything like that.
No, I'm sure it's like a specialized version of Windows that like, so it's using the base Windows but has like their own like home screen, essentially, kind of like what the Steam Deck does.
Got it.
Like that's from again, they like in the Lions Tech Tip videos, they couldn't really show too many of the menus because it was still all prototype and hush hush at this point. But but like yeah, with the Steam Deck, it's running Linux technically, right? Like it's like,
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, which by default, like, yeah, cuts out like the performance of so many games that are only Windows games, like, and there's workarounds to make even people have gotten Game Pass to work on the Steam Deck through Linux, but it's like such a pain. It's like, it'd be nice to just like install Game Pass and it just, there it is, Well,
it's weird also that Microsoft doesn't do that. I mean, I think they see Steam Deck as a thing, right? Wouldn't you want to make a Linux port of Game Pass? Because Valve's not going to block them. They can't. They believe in the free market. So if Xbox wanted to make, hey, if you put your Steam Deck in desktop mode, go to this link and you can download the Game Pass application for Linux.
So they could do that for streaming, but as far as like downloading a game natively, that comes down to the developer to develop it for Linux, because it is a different code.
Not necessarily, because most of the games on Steam Deck are running through Proton.
Right, but again, then they have to develop a Proton wrapper or whatever they call it, Proton whatever, in order to convert it to Linux. So it's like that takes development on the developer side, like whoever made the game originally, whether it's Microsoft or the Supergiant.
I feel like if I'm Microsoft, I'm trying to get Game Pass everywhere I can get it. So
I think the only reason they wouldn't want to do that is because they tend to
not like money.
Well, they have no reason to feel this way, but it's speculation. I wonder if they almost just like, oh, because Linux is a competing operating system, we're not going to work with them. They're technically a competitor. Whatever.
How? They're free.
They're free. I mean, but exactly. But like when people use Linux, it takes money. Like Windows isn't getting that money then because they're using Linux instead of Windows. So it's like it is even though like it's not like they're losing money because it's not that it's going somewhere else, but that it's just not going anywhere. Like it's just like, oh, they can just download a free operating system. So that might be my only thought why they wouldn't bring it is because it is technically a competitor.
I would argue Game Pass is a different beast though. It's not an operating system. If it was
right, but supporting your competitor's operating system by putting your gaming software on there, I think that's where the
I mean, they already do that though. MLB The Show is on Xbox, and vice versa with like Minecraft is on everything.
MLB The Show though is I mean that's PlayStation. That's a PlayStation decision. Like PlayStation, we all know.
I thought that was MLB. No. Anyway.
No. Yeah.
But I'm saying there's instances of Microsoft putting their titles on other platforms, like you were saying, that's technically supporting the competition's operating system with your software. So there's precedent for it.
Yeah, but I think the difference is, again, like it's a one-off game here or there every once in a while compared to like unlocking Game Pass, an entire library of things. And again, some of the things in that library are like, quote unquote exclusive to Xbox and PC, to suddenly it pops up on Linux or whatever. Like that would just like, I don't know. Again, it's
at the end of the day,
not saying
they're
it's
still
a good,
giving they're still giving Xbox the money.
I'm not saying it's a good argument. I'm just saying.
I'm not trying to do it.
I'm saying that's the only way I can rationalize it in my head why they haven't done it so far is probably right. It's just like, hey, like this petty thing where it's like, oh, they're our competitor. We're not going to work with
at
Linux.
This point, Microsoft doesn't have a whole lot of reason to be petty for a lot of things right now. They need all the help they can get. I mean, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but if I'm old Phil, I'm knocking on Gabe's door saying, hey, you got a nice Steam Deck there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching that clip from our podcast. Remember, if you want to watch the whole episode, the full episode, link will be in the description below. You can click on that and check it out. We got listener questions. We got more news segments. We got what you playing. We got a lot of fun things. So yeah, more than just the news. There's a lot more to the show that you should go check out. So remember, click that link in the description. Check out that full episode.